Hey everybody, this video is an addendum to some videos that I did a while back when I was in the middle of restoring this late bay bus, and I was working on the rear brakes and bearings in particular. So I did a video on the bearing replacement and I did a video on the drum brake rebuild. Now in both cases, those videos, everything I did was fine on those, but what I'm going to show you here in this video is that I had a problem such that after I put the wheel back on and I torqued down all the lug nuts, I could barely get this thing to turn when it was up on jack stands. As you can see now, I have it on a jack. I have it connected to the transmission via the axle bolted on, and it's in neutral, but as you can see, it freely spins now and makes almost no noise. And that wasn't the case before. It was extremely bound up. I could barely turn the wheel. So what I'm going to show you is how I troubleshooted that problem, how I solved that problem, and how I finished torquing down everything to make this thing roadworthy. So stay tuned to see what I did. Okay, so the video I did before, once I finished the bearings and the rear drums, was basically just to finish that up and then throw the wheel back on. But I didn't have the castle nut torqued down yet, and I didn't have everything adjusted, obviously. But again, the first problem was when you do any work on your bearings or your brakes, you want to put the wheel back on and tighten down your lug nuts. And then on, again, I just have it on a jack just to get it lifted up. And if the axle's connected, put it neutral, and it should spin nice and easy. And notice you don't hear any noise. Maybe a little swishing sound from the pads occasionally, but it shouldn't be noisy and it shouldn't be bound up. It should turn very, very easily. But what was happening was it was bound up real hard as soon as I put the nuts on. And so what was happening was the drum was bound into the backing plate, and you could see it actually from the front here, because when you're torquing down this thing, and this thing has to be torqued down, this castle nut, at 250 pounds of pressure, and it also, you have to have some way to line up the hole that's in there with the cotter pin. So before I even started that, just putting on the lug nuts made this thing so tight. So I didn't want to even touch that yet. So what I did was I took the castle nut back off, and I took the wheel obviously off and the drum off. And I took the hub off as well, because with this castle nut, you can take the hub off. And what I noticed was the hub actually was too far in. You're probably wondering, well, how is that too far in? I mean, you put the bearings in correctly and the bearing spacers in and all that. If the hub backed off the bearing by a couple millimeters, it would stand out far enough to where I bolted the drum onto the hub, it wouldn't bound into the back of the brake plate, and therefore it was good. So that was my problem, was not that the drum was on too tight or anything, because that's not possible, but it was really the hub was too far in. And actually, when you see it from the outside, you would notice that when you put the castle nut on, you have way too much. You actually had more threads behind where this is. Your castle nut, once torqued on, you should barely be able to get this hole exposed and your cotter pin put on. But I had it no problem without it even being torqued down. Okay, so like I said, the problem with binding is the hub is too close or too far in, and the only thing that spaces out the hub is the bearings and the bearing sleeves. Now, one thing I did on the one side is, like I said, I took the castle nut back off because I didn't have it torqued down yet, and I pulled the hub out, and then what I did was I pulled the little sleeve that comes on the outer bearing, that little inner sleeve on the outer bearing, and there's a sleeve inside of the axle, and that's a bigger one. And so I thought, well, maybe the problem is that sleeve on the inside of the axle or the outer bearing sleeve, when those go pushed together, that kind of creates that distance, but where the hub's bolts, when the hub presses onto it, that's what creates that distance. So I thought, well, let me see if I got another, like an aftermarket inside sleeve, and maybe if that's a little bit longer, because they don't make an aftermarket sleeve for the bearing. You just have to buy a new bearing. It comes with the bearing. So I did buy one, and unfortunately I didn't install that because that didn't fix the problem. Now, notice that this aftermarket one, I think I bought this from Sip One. Look at how thick that thing is. It is very thick. But I wasn't concerned about the thickness. I was concerned about the height or the length of this. So what I did was, since the stock one is much thinner, I can actually pull those sleeves, both those sleeves out without removing the bearings at all. If you install an aftermarket one, just be warned, you will have to remove one of the bearings. So this has to be done with one of the bearings, because this one will not fit through that outer bearing race. It's just too thick. So I pulled the stock one out and measured it up against this. It's exactly the same height. So installing this wouldn't have done any good anyway. So my problem here is that this wouldn't have fixed the problem because my sleeve was the exact same height, and the sleeve that goes inside the bearing that this one bumps against, I can't replace it. There's no part for it. You just have to buy a new bearing. And I bought the highest quality German bearing I could, so I don't know what that would have done. Possibly one mistake I made is that I didn't keep the stock one, but I believe the stock one was the exact same size anyway, so I'm not sure what to do. So what I ended up doing was I bought some shims, and I actually bought this big pack of them, and I'll try to give you the specs of them. This pack is actually SAE, so I think the inner diameter of these steel, they're called washer shims or shim washers, and the inner diameter is, I think, 1 3/8 SAE, but the important spec here is it's 35 mil. For the inner diameter. The outer diameter can vary. It doesn't really matter. These happen to be about an 8 to 9 millimeter. I don't know what it is in SAE, but I think you can fit as much as a 10 mil diameter or a 10 mil thick sleeve in there to make it an outer diameter 45. These are about 44, I think. So inner diameter 35, outer diameter somewhere around 44 to 45 will fit. So that's what you're going to look for. This happens to be a hardened steel part. I think I found other washer shims from industrial, sites that were like made of stainless steel. So make sure it's hardened steel or stainless steel, and that should work. So I'll provide something in the description, hopefully, that will point you to this, but otherwise just use those specs, and you can find an industrial machine shop that will sell you these for not much money, maybe $15, $20, but you'll have to buy a bunch of them. So what I end up doing, and I'll show you in this video here, I did take a little bit of a clip of it, was again take the castle nut off, pull the hub out, and then start with like 1 or 2 of these spacers. These happen to be 0.7 mil thick, but you can maybe buy metric ones that are 0.5 mil or 1 mil thick. I put one in, and then would put the castle nut back on, put the hub back in, put the castle nut on. Don't torque down the hub too hard, just torque it down enough to, with your torque wrench, maybe 30 pounds, and then put your drum back on and put the bolt in the drum so where the drum's locked in all the way into the hub, and then give it a turn. If it's still scraping and rubbing against the back plate, take it all back off, put another one in, and repeat it. Repeat it until there's no more scraping against the back plate and you're backed off just enough. So that's the point of having these washers here, these shims, is to build up whatever distance that is. For my car, it happened to be on one side, I think it was 2 to 3 shims, or about 1.5 mil, and another one, I think it was 3 to 4 of these shims to make it like maybe between 3 and 4 mil. So it just really kind of depends on the side and what's happening. So you want to put just the minimum amount of shims, obviously, as you can. You need it to not bind against that backing plate and it to be nice and smooth. The other thing you did do is when torquing down the castle nut, of course, I got this big old torque wrench that can go up to 250 foot-pounds. The spec on that castle nut is 253 foot-pounds. So when you're putting your shims in and you kind of just give it a quick torque down, look at, and notice that I think in the video I put a little pick in that hole that's on the axle to locate that. I wanted that hole to be just barely you know, with a little bit of torque down, that hole to be just barely visible, so that when I torque it down fully, I get it about another quarter, maybe a half turn, depending on, you know, how you're doing, and then you can get your cotter pin in. Now, sometimes when you torque that castle nut down, what I would suggest doing there is set your torque wrench to about 140 pounds, just under the spec. Torque it down and see where that hole is. If you can't see it at all, it's probably under one of the castle nut flanges there. Now, you may need to just put a thin shim in there just to get that torqued, that in the correct position. You know, so you may want to use those to pull it out just slightly to where that hole can locate. But what I would do is do 240 pounds, and if the hole is perfectly located where you need it to be, I would suggest, yeah, that's good. Put the cotter pin in, you're ready to go. But in my case, that didn't work out. So I would go 250, maybe 260, and keep going until I can get that hole placed exactly where I want it. And then I can put the cotter pin in. So as you can see, that's what it should look like. Now, in order to torque this down, it's often difficult to do that procedure if you have to constantly put the wheel back on, put it back down on off the jack stand so it can't turn and all that. So what I did was I found a steel bar in my metal stash, and I just drilled a couple holes in it. It was like a shelf bracket to some IKEA thing. You know, drill a couple holes in it, that way I can mount it to a couple of the lug nuts. And that made for a good hold bar, so I could torque it down and check it without having to, you know, put the wheel back on or jack it up or do anything like that. Well, that's it for this short video. That is how I fixed the bus. That was probably the biggest problem I had mechanically with the bus. I'll have another set of videos about how I'm dealing with some of the electric issues on the electric drivetrain. If you have any interest in learning about Volkswagen buses and restoration, not only that, but also electric vehicle conversion on these things, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll be putting out more videos on the electric drivetrain and me test driving it and getting it on the road. So stay tuned, and I'll talk to you next time.